hope I said that.
You said that right.
So this is a lethal duo, alright? Because Chrys, he once got into a fist fight at a Beyonce concert, and Sonja, she's a licensed scuba diver.
So hi everybody. Okay. So my name is Chrys.
And my name is Sonja.
And we are 2/5 of the Brown RISD College Slam team. Two of our other wonderful teammates are here tonight, who are also performing, Mabrano and Sheena Faisal. So please stick around.
You fucked up. It's okay.
Faisal? Okay, my bad, I'm fucked up. We represent some awesome queer Asian voices, and we can always make everything queer and more Asian. So, we're going to be doing a set list of three poems.
Three poems, guys.
Fuck it up.
Alright.
Hurt somebody.
Alright. Who likes spam?
I do.
People like spam? Okay. Are there any Filipinos in the audience who like spam? Any more? No? Hawaiians? Spam musubi? No? Okay.
Not me.
Got you, May. When an earthquake assault and a violent custody case shook my bones to cinders, moving me from bedroom floor to hospital bed, from Virginia beaches to New York skyscrapers, I thought of spam. Artery clogging porky comfort, fried black, plated over rice, served with runny eggs. This breakfast of salty, congealing goodness stretched my grin across two hemispheres. In 1944, American troops landed in the Philippines, ousting the Japanese just in time to reoccupy our kitchens with their leftovers, cigarettes, chewing gum, our beloved cans of spam. We traded cash crops for tin survival, coconuts for processed pork shoulder suspended in potato starch binder preserved in sodium nitrite. Spam, a cheap invention, too worthless to keep frozen, just enough to sell to the starving on cans of spam. We outlived occupation long enough to become literate in disaster. When the Typhoon Yolanda struck Tacloban, I thought of my grandmother. Islands away, I measured distance in trembling hands. Parents drowning, cities cleared by water, ineffective American aid. In the charred fragments of my frying pan, I learned to cook love into survival. My letters crossed an ocean's depths only to be drowned by wind and seawater. All I could do was stand at my stove in a New York kitchen, frying pan in hand. My pan takes cholesterol in a tin can, turns it into survival. My pan takes mystery meat, bloats my belly into persistence. It takes a colonizer's leftovers and feeds siblings, daughters, mothers, a trans-Pacific genealogy. In my family, love is opportunity meted out by distance over time, which is then multiplied by stacked tin cans, broken English, and non-perishable goods until at last there is born a daughter who can say, "I love you," without first crossing the Pacific in her voice. In my family, I am the daughter who has never crossed the Pacific out of necessity. My English is the surface of an ocean unbroken by wind. But I know that the charred fragments of my frying pan is a deliberate act of returning. Fried eggs and spam is the cure to all hurt and homesickness. So if food is growth, multiplied by mothers, divided only by the hands and mouths they feed, then I am the bottom of my mother's favorite frying pan, seasoned by survival. A can opener, rusting, but still holding.
Woo! Woo!
So, do I got any Viet folks out here? Cambodian, Lao, Hmong, anybody who was fucked over by the Vietnam War? So fun fact, 40 years ago, next week will be the 40th anniversary of the fall of Saigon. And often when I talk to my parents, I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but I always try to ask them, like, what is your homeland like? And they refuse to tell me. And it's often about, like, how do I understand my history when my own parents won't even do that? So often when I think about this, I'm thinking, so, Mom, you're talking about Vietnam as if it's still the same country, but you left 40 years ago, it's not the same country anymore. In a way, I thought about it as if it's something that's frozen in her mind, but I wonder how if that's the way that she copes with losing her homeland. So this poem is called Revisionist History, New Shit. New shit. 1. My mother rarely ever speaks of Vietnam. It only ever happens like an accident, like a knocked over glass leaking all over the tablecloth. The Viet Cong hungry. You wouldn't imagine everyone drowning, everyone gone, gunshot. Sometimes I ask for more, like a clumsy guest leaving muddy footprints on the carpet, overstaying their welcome, then begging for seconds. And what did you mean by that? And I watch how her entire body seizes up, the windows of her mind gaping open, all the muscles in her face frigid like death. Like she's already said far too much. 2. My mother's mind is a freezer, stuffed with memories, full of TV dinners and ice pops left over from old summers. She speaks of her homeland only in the present tense, like all that familiar frostbite still knows her childhood face. South Vietnam is a dead body cryonically preserved, a split fossil to resuscitate on the day of reckoning. Isn't it an unfinished carton of ice cream wedged so deep in the back of the freezer she can't reach in to throw it out? But see, she rarely ever speaks of the ash, the gunmetal. If you could hide all the blood spill of an ugly truth, bury all the bones and excavate a village unscorched by war, wouldn't you? Just to sleep a little better at night. See, her homeland disappeared off maps 40 years ago. It has a new name, new people, but my mother does not forget the slaughter. Frost gathers in the hollows of her eyes like an ice age stuck in the back of her mind. She fled a homeland on fire and watched everything melt. The day our electricity fused out, our home filled with the smell of raw meat and hypothermia. The entire freezer dripped red onto the kitchen floor. 3. Isn't memory a tablecloth, stained with leftovers, real good for wrapping up all the skeletons forgotten by history? Oh, how they live on in your mind. Oh, how their legacies bleed onto the kitchen counter. Oh, how every time you clear the table after dinner, you find their handprints still crawling all over the tablecloth. This is our last poem. We gonna sum it up. We gonna sum up some queer magic. And if the ancestors call your name, y'all better let us know that they're calling you.
(1428 to 1750), thousands of bodies turned to ash. Wind sweeps their wicked ghosts across this globe. History mourns the witches who threatened order.
Centuries later, we know their accused witchcraft is just the panic of the church.
Is it because we threaten the divine?
Instill such fear.
Brew such an uncomfortable gaze.
All they could do was burn us alive. I was born to be hunted, born accused, on trial, burned at the stake. 1950. Senator Joseph McCarthy hunts down the sexually deviant, declares a lavender scare. a peril to the Christian democracy.
How many prophets exposed as queer?
Shame for what should not be hidden.
Fired from jobs.
Blacklisted.
Jailed.
Disappeared. History remembers queerness as a dark mania, some curable plague of the mind. They branded us perverts.
Faggots, from the Latin fascist, meaning bundle of branchwood.
Flamboyant, from the old French flamboyer, meaning to flame. We were always meant to burn at the stake. Just one match can torch an entire forest.
Just one rumor can ignite a witch hunt across towns.
I grew up in the South, a hunting ground for the queer and trans. When my high school teacher outed me, I felt pitchforks and rosaries riot in everyone's eyes. They slandered me with a shameful sorcery.
Back from the glitter of pride, my grandmother demands, who do you love? I invoke the power of loving another woman. She condemns me, clutches breast and Bible like talismans, gospels, to cast out what is not unholy.
I first attempted suicide in middle school, the secret damning my throat, boiling me from the inside out. The queers on TV say I should come out, boast my pariah with pride, but down here, coming out is a smoke signal, summoning the masses to drown me out in holy water.
At 15, I learned that coming out is a constant fleeing. My pastor speaks of Leviticus. I cannot sing the sacraments or say amen. I fear they will set my skin alight.
The fire looks so inviting when you're already living in hell. I'm older.
I've escaped this hollow wrath, but I mourn the children born haunted.
Accused on trial, born to be haunted by mobs and Molotovs.
Sometimes this world can see me only for this strange love.
The sacrilegious gender,
This unholy horror. I've learned to conjure kinship with ghosts.
They burned us for centuries, but we never disappear. We're still here, and that must be some kind of magic.
We meet underground, commune in remembrance.
Draw from the wells of ancestral magic, envision futures where we do not disappear.
We cannot raise the dead, but we resurrect their memories.
So give me this queer magic. Let me brew potions made of fear.
Lavender,
lineage,
our own flesh.
Give me this inheritance.
This blasphemy.
This charred blood spill.
This persistence like smoke rising.
Cold burning.
Our bodies writhing in effigy.
Lovers scorched at the stake.
Us faggots flaming. Watch how we burn divine.